Be bad. I listen to the American Adversaries, and you should too. Don't let me come and get you, because I'll kick your booty with my two-net booty.
All right, welcome back to the show, folks. That's right, you got the American Adversaries Drive Time, Prime Time coming at you over the airwaves and over the internet on AM 660 The Answer and AM660TheAnswer.com. And all next week, we're going to have the full 2 hours as the Rays are playing on the left coast, as El Rush Fuzzbo likes to say. 407-774-8255 is our number. And, you know, school is getting out. You know, we're having these graduation ceremonies this week, and congratulations to all you graduates, that is. But it's now time to start thinking about next year. And if you've had your child in a public school, this was one area of Kirsten's book that we unfortunately weren't able to get to because of time, but she documents quite well how our educational institutions are being turned into indoctrination stations. Of course, we all knew this, but you can do something about it. You can get your child out of public school into private school, and the best way to do that is at half-price tuition. And there's a lot of great schools right here all over Central Florida that are offering half-price tuition deals. Best way to find out how and what is going on there, go to AmazingRadioDeals.com. That's AmazingRadioDeals.com. Or you can give Bill Files a call. He's the station manager here. He'll love to help you out on this. By the way, they also have half-price AC, half-price choppers for your mouth, I think, dental implants.
Total dental implant.
Yeah, and they have a lot of great things at AmazingRadioDeals.com, and in particular the tuition, because it is, you know, for a loved one, a child, grandchild, niece, nephew, neighbor's child. 407-618-1760 to take advantage of great half-price tuition deals at places like Liberty Christian in Sanford, Risen Savior Academy in Orlando, Noah's Ark Preschool in Longwood, Alpha Christian Academy in Winter Park, Apopka Christian Academy, of course, in Apopka, and the list goes on and on. AmazingRadioDeals.com. Please take advantage of that. Okay, and if you want to be on the conversation, 407-774-8255 is the number. I wish David could have stuck around a little bit longer. I wanted to talk to him about Rand Paul, of course, who is known as a libertarian, but he is running in the Republican Party. He's not running as a libertarian, and he would probably not be able to run as a libertarian unless he were to get out of the Republican side of the race fairly early, because they are already going to have their convention. Now, there's state conventions coming up soon, but they'll have a national convention as well next year. And they're likely to choose somebody like Gary Johnson, who was their candidate last time, who is a full-bore libertarian, registered libertarian, been a libertarian for a long time. Of course, he was the governor of, I believe, Arizona for a while. I know it was one of those border states over there.
Yeah.
Maybe it was New Mexico, but I believe it was Arizona. And of course, he is... as I said, a full-bore libertarian. So Rand Paul has cast his lot with the Republicans, and this is why I say, you know, he can naturally distinguish himself, as David said, you know, by fighting the NSA and other things like that. He doesn't have to go out of his way to trash Republicans, or if you were going to trash Republicans, at least trash the Democrats in the process too, because there's a lot of blame that can go around over there with the situation in the Middle East. But one thing that I think that we can say, and that is that the situation was pacified. In other words, we did win the war in Iraq. The war was won. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, Willie called earlier and said we haven't really won a war since World War II, and I know what he's talking about. But we did win in Iraq. We had that situation pacified. And then along comes Barack Obama and Joe Shotgun Biden and blew the whole thing apart. And then, of course, there were bad decisions made in Syria. And one of the situations that we have is that the American public has not been spoken to honestly about what we're going to have to do to the situation over there and why we have to do it, or at least why we have to be at the forefront of the efforts.
I think we see that now.
You would think.
This is what was predicted.
Right. And so, you know, it's easy for a guy like Rand Paul to say, yeah, you know, they should have done this and they should have done that. And if we don't go all out, you know, that's not a solution, though. That's not a solution to the predicament that we're in, because you're not providing the inspiration, the leadership that was going to be required to get us out of this morass.
And we've learned already with this current president what blaming the other guy does, and it's not going to help him out.
No, not a lick. Not a lick. So maybe somebody should have asked Rand, well, then what would you have done? Would you have done nothing, or would you have mustered up a huge military force and invaded Syria, for instance? So so it's not as easy as perhaps he was trying to make it sound yesterday. But I understand the politics of this. I'm just saying that I don't think it'll work for him to do that. He has to be a natural Rand Paul, and he has to go a little bit further than just providing criticism. And what I mean by that is further in providing the solution. And there have been those who I think have come closer to that than him. For instance, I think Rick Santorum said, look, he'd load them up and blow them apart. And I understand, Willie, I understand you're an ex-military man, and I know where you're coming from. But the problem is leadership. And what I saw yesterday in Rand Paul was not, in my opinion, leadership. Now, he might have said some things that we all would like to agree with, but leadership is much more than that. I thought we saw more in terms of leadership from Marco Rubio. And, I've been a Cruz guy around here. I still pretty much am. But when Marco Rubio spoke yesterday about the situation with Christian persecution here in this country, I thought that was leadership. Because he was taking a stand.
It was bold.
It was bold, and it was natural to him. And it was a stand that he wasn't criticizing people who are for gay marriage. He was criticizing people who are for gay marriage and nothing else. In other words, what Kirsten Powers talks about in her book, he was criticizing the illiberal. He was criticizing the illiberal for not tolerating any dissent. And that, he went right to the heart of the problem. We don't have dissent in this country. We don't have open debate in this country. That's one reason why we do this show. That's one reason why a lot of other talk show hosts do their show. That's one reason why a lot of bloggers do their blogging. It's because they want to have that open dissent. They want to have that open debate, that open conversation. And Kirsten points out in her book, because they're closing off the conversation, they're closing the door to solutions. And we all suffer when that happens. I like to listen to liberal arguments. And guess what? Every so often, they stumble on the truth. They're right. And if we close them out of the conversation, then maybe we lose
They did with a trade deal.
Well, yeah. So, we need to encourage these things, and the people who discourage them, those are the ones who need to be called out. And that's what Marco Rubio was doing yesterday. And of course, he's been criticized for it, but that's that's the nature of the beast. You can't go around worrying. And this is one thing I will take my hat off to Rand Paul, is he's the criticism he doesn't care about so much, and so in that that's a positive. But as I said, he would be better, to just be naturally Rand Paul and not try so hard, I think, is what he was doing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he was being natural Rand Paul, but I'm just saying that ain't going to work. Because at the end of the day, it still comes down to likability. And the way Marco Rubio presented himself yesterday, he presented a dissenting point of view in a likable sort of way. And Rand Paul just didn't do that. And there's just so much to the theatrics of politics that you just cannot ignore it.
You've got to win.
You've got to play the game to win.
But you're not going to win if you don't have the personality that people like.
And exactly right. Exactly right. Which is why, Scott Walker is a very talented governor, but I don't think he's going to be in the final tier of candidates. I just don't. There's just something about him that doesn't come off quite likable. And so, it's
a little too laid back, maybe.
Well, I don't know what it is. The haircut has something to do with it. I mean, but the whole 9 yards, all of this stuff. This is why, it's clever I don't think in the end of the day it's going to work, but it's clever for Hillary Clinton to try to brand herself as the champion. Because, like I said, she understands on a level like I understand, and that is that politics is like professional wrestling or any other, whatever your favorite sport is. If it's your team, you don't care how good or whatever the other team is, you just want to whip them. And you want to whip them by as big a score as you can. And in wrestling, you want to make that decision as decisive. You want that guy where he has to roll out of the ring and be carried up the ramp. You want to beat him so bad. And so she knows that if she can brand herself as a champion, the people who see her as the champion will view all attacks on her, legitimate or otherwise, as an attack on their champion and something to be defended wholeheartedly to the end. So it's clever. It's smart politics. Whether she can pull it off is a whole nother thing. But it is clever, smart politics. All right, when we come back, we've got a whole lot more to talk about. We got one more segment to get it in, so I hope you'll stay with us. You are listening to the American Adversaries Drive Time Prime.
Yeah, and look at all the money they got there, in on the foundation. And she's going to turn that around to say, look at all the good we've done. Okay, we sucked up 87% of the money, 88%, but look at all the good we were trying to do.
That's what it costs to be the champion. We'll be right back.